Hey, what's going on, folks? We're back at it again. Another episode of Daily Fantasy Knockout. This time we're talking about UFC 205. As always, I'm your host, Drew. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Mr. Josh Stillman. Josh, how we doing?
I'm excellent. I'm already super excited for this card. It's Wednesday, and I can barely contain my excitement. Very pumped. Very, very pumped. So have you figured out yet, or are you going to be in the building for this yet, or what?
I don't think so, but I'm going to be up there. I got tickets for weigh-ins on Friday.
You had to get tickets for that?
Yeah, I got it on Ticketmaster.com. They were free, but, I mean, I have...
You had to reserve your spot.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think they actually have to sit in your assigned seats because they were, like, in the second level. It was pretty cool, nonetheless. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been inside Madison Square Garden. I've been outside of it, but I'm looking forward to it. And, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Where are you going to be watching it?
If I'm not in it, at a local bar. I told the girlfriend, I'm like, I haven't seen you in 3 weeks, but Saturday.
You'll have to pardon me from 8 to 3 in the morning.
You're more than welcome to sit here. I'll buy your drinks, but.
Yep, sounds good. Make sure you don't do that too much or drag her out too late, too often, or it'll end up boycotting a local establishment. Just trust me on that one.
Seems like you have a history with that one.
No, I would just say. Just
All right.
Yeah, so I'm having a couple of our friends down from Pennsylvania. They're coming over, so I'm excited for that. Always a good time.
Good stuff. Well, let's get started here, guys. As always, you know the drill. We go over each fight, talk about DraftKings. But before we do that, Josh and I have been working on this for a while. We try to make this show as good as it can be, and we've actually got involved with the website Patreon. It is a crowdfunded service that, you know, asks our listeners to donate a small amount of money. So without further ado, we have a little video on that. Hopefully you guys will watch this and consider donating.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to Daily Fantasy Knockout for this UFC event. If you enjoy our content and or find it useful for your daily fantasy lineups, please consider pledging to support the podcast on Patreon. Patreon is basically continuous crowdfunding. You sign up to contribute a certain amount every month to help us with production costs, and in return you get rewards ranging from a mention on Daily Fantasy Knockout to a question of your choice answered to access to some of our lineups. We have more in the works to reward you for your help, and we appreciate every contribution. No amount is too small. Just check out patreon.com and find out how to help Drew and I keep knocking these out. Now let's get back to the show.
So yeah, if you guys would be willing to look that up and, you know, if you want to donate $1 or $2, whatever. There are certain tiers that the more money you donate, the more you get.
They're like reward tiers, right?
Yeah, what is it, $3 per month? We give you a shout out on the podcast. $5 a month. We'll answer some of your questions, talk about a specific format, what type of fighter we like, pretty much anything you want to know. And $20 or more a month, we will send you our cash game lineups directly, ones that we enter into our 50-50s and double-ups. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with bankroll management, 50-50s are pretty much the key to that. Yeah, so anything helps, guys. We're looking for anything. We're looking to buy microphones and some new headsets and some backdrops so we can, you know, really get this thing off the ground and running. So anyway, let's dive right in. Actually, no, we owe 2 shout-outs already. We have 2 donors. David Bowen, thank you so much for donating, and Caleb Stillman. You guys were the 2 first to reach out and donate to us. So thank you guys so much for that. Hope you enjoy the show. And, yeah, without any further ado, let's dive right in. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll just say, if you are listening on podcast instead of watching our YouTube clip, then you got treated to a pretty, like, a better version of that like blurb about Patreon. Again, our friend Matt Lapes helping us out with the music and the production a little bit, at least in terms of like intros and talk beds, as they're called in the industry. Learn about that kind of stuff. So thank you to him. You can find him on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/do less. Nice little Forgetting Sarah Marshall reference there. Classic film. All right, so yeah, let's get into it.
All right, first fight of the evening is Liz Carmouche versus Caitlin. How do you say it? Chookagian?
Chookagian is my best guess.
Chookagian.
Yeah. So I like Chookagian in this fight, but it's not one that I'm going to necessarily be playing too much of on DraftKings. Let's take a look at the prices real quick, just to get that out of the way. So we got Chookagian is at 8,200, and Carmouche comes back as at 8,000. Chookagian is a minus 175 favorite, and Carmouche is a plus 145 dog. So looking at those odds, you can see Chookagian is a little bit of a value play. She is slightly higher priced, but closer to like a 2-to-1 favorite. But I don't see a finish in this fight. I'll get to the finish prop here. It's the over/under is 2.5 rounds. The over is at minus 220. To go the distance, the fight is at minus 180. So not particularly likely. Carmouche is going to want, like, the reason I'm not super high on this fight, Chookagian is a good striker, and she's good at range and throws a lot of volume, but Carmouche is going to want to try to negate that as much as possible, beat her up in the clinch, take her down, stay on top of her. Chookagian's the brown belt under Renzo Gracie, I believe, while Carmouche is a purple belt, I think, in jiu-jitsu. So, like, I don't really see either one of them submitting the other. I think Chookagian could, but she's the higher rank, should be better jiu-jitsu. But Carmouche is super insanely strong, while Chookagian is a little bit undersized for the division. So her being able to, like, keep her in an armbar or triangle or something like that just doesn't seem super likely to me. She's going to want to stay on her bike and just flash the jab and, like, leg kick a lot, kind of stay away. So I don't see a finish, so this isn't really a fight I'd be targeting GBPs. I'd like to play Chookagian in cash maybe, but I think her floor is a little bit too low, because if she can't stop Carmouche's takedowns, that could be an issue. And I think there's going to be better options later on. So I think this will probably be a fight I fade for the most part. I'll consider Chookagian in cash to kind of see how the lineups play out, but for the most part, probably not going to be playing too much of this one.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. Moving on to our next fight, Jim Miller versus Thiago the Pitbull Alves.
Okay, so this is a weird fight, mostly because of Alves. He's been out of action for a while, since he
a year and a half, I think, right?
Yeah. He fought Carlos Condit a while back and got his nose smashed and got his whole face rearranged by an elbow from Condit. And Condit has since, like, fought twice and contemplated retirement a couple times, and Alves has still not been back. So he's always been injury prone. He's dropping down to 155 from 170 for the first time, and so doing that late in your career doesn't seem like a super great idea. He also missed weight at welterweight a couple of times, so it's not like he was – I mean, he's kind of short for welterweight, but he's always been, like, muscular and big, so it didn't ever look like lightweight was an option for him. But in any case, that's where we're at here. Miller himself, he since losing a decision to Diego Sanchez, he's mauled the ghost of Taka Morigumi and decisioned controversially somewhat, but in a close fight with Joe Lozon. So if Alves looks anything like Alves has looked in the past, I would pick him. Miller has got decent kickboxing, and he's going to have the advantage on the ground. But I don't see him being able to, like, take down Alves very often unless Alves, like, kind of gasses, gets tired, and runs himself into a guillotine like he did a couple years ago against Martin Kampmann. Alves should have the advantage standing. Miller had success with his kickboxing and looked pretty good against Lozon. Lozon's never been, like, a defensive genius in stand-up by any means. So I sort of favor Alves here, but there's a lot of question marks. So I think this is a GBP play. More so for Miller, because I think Miller is just super insanely tough, and Alves getting him out of there would be kind of surprising. But Miller could submit him if the fight goes to the ground at any point, or if Alves gasses badly down the stretch. Looking at their finish props, Alves inside distance is plus 231, and Miller inside distance is plus 364. So I guess I'm backwards on that. Alves' last win was like a one-shot liver kick TKO of Jordan Mean after he got like beat up really bad in the first round. So I guess Alves does have that finishing instinct and ability. So GBP play here. What do we think in terms of like their ownership?
I'm going to be on the middle of the road, I think, is my guess. We'll go through ownership as like we go up the card, but yeah, I think they're middle owned, and when I consider middle, I say like 40%.
Okay.
Just because the field's so small, like ownerships are always that high unless you are Chris Avila and
you're the greatest fighter ever.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I think this is not one that is going to be super highly owned, so you could have some play there in GBPs, like I said, but too many question marks for cash.
I agree. Let's go to the next fight of the evening. Vicente Luque versus Bilal Muhammad. I'm looking forward to this fight. I really like both of these guys. I think they're young prospects, and I think they could be relevant at some point. I believe that Muhammad is the more all-around fighter, and therefore I'm going to take him to win by a decision. He's going to want to strike, but Luque really doesn't have any problem with that. Luque really likes to get in the pocket and bang and throw really heavy-handed punches. He's a good boxer. But that being said, I did pick Muhammad. If this one gets into a pocket exchange brawl, anything can happen. Both of these guys have big power in their hands. If Muhammad can avoid the takedowns, though, I see... I'm sorry. I got lost. Anyway, yeah. If Muhammad can avoid being taken down by the BJJ black belt that is Vicente Luque, I really like him to grind out a decision win. He's got decent takedown defense. He's got good timing on his reactive shots. He fought Alan Jouban, and he said since after the fight, he took the fight on 10 days' notice, and he has since said that he didn't want to be taken down by Alan Jouban, so he really didn't show his entire arsenal. He limited his kicks and whatnot, but most recently he fought Rafael Montano, and he was throwing all sorts of kicks, three-punch combos. His left head kick was a personal favorite of his. He maintained a solid output. He had really good movement. So I'm going to lean Muhammad in this fight. In terms of pricing, Muhammad comes in at 8,300 and Luque is 7,900. Muhammad is favored at minus 150 and Luque is the dog at plus 120. I think both of these guys are going to be a little lower owned, so that makes this a pretty solid GPP spot. I like Muhammad to win, but for tournament construction, I think Luque is a good spot because I believe he's going to be the lesser owned of the two, and he has that opportunity to catch him with a punch and knock him out. So I like Muhammad to win the fight. So if you're going to play him in cash games, I think it's a little risky to play him in cash games because Luque does have the power in his hands, and we haven't seen enough on these guys over the long term. But GPP only is my advice. Slight edge to Muhammad. If you want to throw Luque in as some one-offs for some salary relief, I think that's a good play too.
Okay. Yeah. It's a really interesting fight in cash. I think it should be pretty high scoring, and the fight going the distance is at minus 175, so not like overwhelmingly likely to go the full 20 or not full 25, full 15 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I could see. Which one were you suggesting in cash? Essentially,
Muhammad.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I'm most likely going to be fading it in cash. These are probably going to be strictly GPPs, but
okay,
there are options for you. I think there's better ones down the line. So, all right, let's jump into the next fight. Tim Boesch versus Rafael Natal. I like Natal in this fight. I think Boesch is kind of reaching the end of the journey, as they say, and I really like Natal here. Boesch just seems like a good guy to me. I don't know why. I've always rooted for him, but Natal's the play here. He's competent on the feet, and I think he takes a page out of Ed Herman's playbook, and he gets this fight up against the fence in the clinch. He's very strong in the clinch. Ed Herman beat the piss out of Bosch and knocked him out with a knee in the clinch and just wore him down. Natal is a BJJ black belt. More recently, he's been improving in his striking game. He's starting to fall in love with the striking department, which I don't really like. He's suffocating in top control as a BJJ black belt. He's got good level changes. He shoots for takedowns. And in the clinch, he's really, really hard to get off you. And he loves to throw hard counter punches to break. He loves to throw like hard counter punches when he breaks away from the fighters up against the fence. He's caught in a lot of his opponents with that. And with a guy like Tim Bosch, that could put him down. I describe both of these guys as kind of like a meat and potatoes type of fighter. Nothing flashy, just get in there and do their business. He has some power in his hands, but he's a BJJ black belt at heart, and I think he's going to want to take this one to the ground. And I'm just not sure Tim Bosch can maintain that. So the pick is Natal. The decision, kind of get a little value here. They're both priced at 8,100, but Natal comes in at -155. Bosch comes in at 125. Bosch, for me, is strictly GPP if you want to take a shot on him. He does have power in his hands. He has the opportunity to end the fight at any moment. So GPP, that's what you're looking for. And Natal, I think he's a play in GPP and cash. I think he wins the fight. He could finish on the ground. I think, what would you say, probably prefer him in cash just to get the win?
I don't know. Natal?
Yeah, I like him in both formats, but if you had to pick one, what would you pick?
I think if Boach wins, it's going to be by finish. I think, like you said, like Natal has more volume and more tools, more ways to win at this point. So, like, Boach's power scares me a little bit. But like you said, you're getting a value there for Natal with this price and the odds. So I think he's more of a GBP. I think I would play him more in GBPs, but I would definitely consider him in cash. We'll kind of see how the cash lineup plays out as we go. But yeah, it's my kind of take.
All right, dude, that sounds good. Where are we at next?
We got Nurmi and Michael Johnson.
Oh, this is my dude right here. Nurmi is my guy. He's 22, in MMA. He is probably the best grappler in the division. Pound for pound, he could be the best in the entire UFC. I went back and watched his fight with RDA from 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and he absolutely dominated him. He ragdolled him, and RDA was a former champion, a dominant champion, and he's still a dominant contender despite his loss to Tony Ferguson. But I'm all over Khabib in this fight. He's proven time and time again to be the better grappler. He's game on the feet. It's not his, preferred department, but he's uber aggressive. He's confident in his striking, and he's all about pressure. Pressure. Get the fighter to the ground, and then he smothers you. That's always his game plan. He's not going to be known for a flashy finish, but the dude is an absolute monster. Johnson, he does have, some punching power, and he's a good athlete. He's got really good footwork with a strong chin. I just don't see him competing with the grappling of Nurmi. I know he had a really impressive performance against your boy, Dustin Poirier, in his last time out.
Made me sad.
Yeah, it wasn't cool. I was rooting for him too. But I think the grappling is so far in Khabib's favor that he's going to win this fight. And that being said, I'm going to play him in cash games. He comes in at 9,000. Michael Johnson, 7,200. Khabib is -300 as the favorite, and Michael Johnson's +220. Michael Johnson, GPP only play for me. And Khabib, you can play him in each. I would be okay with either one of them. GPP, cash, he has a chance for a finish. And I think with the new scoring, and if this goes 3 rounds of takedowns and advances and strikes, I think Khabib should and could hit 100 points at least. So I'm going to play Khabib in both formats, but he'll be a staple in my cash games.
Okay. That sounds fair. Yeah, he's one of the highest favorites on the card. I'm a little concerned about the stand-up. If Johnson can kind of stay on his bike, he showed he's a good outfighter, good counter-striker against Poirier. So if he can avoid the takedowns, I think he could definitely return you some value, even if he doesn't get the finish. So I think you should definitely have some shares of Johnson in your GBP lineups, but I agree, Nurmagomedov hasn't shown really a weakness to anybody yet, so it sounds okay to me. So next up we got Jeremy Stephens versus Frankie Edgar. Stephens is 7,000 and Edgar is 9,200 on DraftKings. Edgar is the minus 300 favorite, and Stephens is a plus 250 underdog. So Edgar is a little bit more expensive than Nurmagomedov, while Stephens is a little bit less expensive. For that reason, I like Stephens in GPPs and possibly in cash. This fight, I think, is more likely to go the distance and should be more of a striking affair than their Nurmi Johnson fight, which has the risk of, at least for Johnson, of fighting off takedowns for long stretches of the fight. Stephens, I don't think, will have that issue quite as much. I think Edgar's going to try to use his movement and his boxing in and out, kind of frustrate, out volume Stephens, who's going to end up trying to throw power punches. Stephens has giant power in his hands, and Edgar has been fighting at an elite level for a long time. So the chin could go at some point, but so far he's shown an otherworldly ability to recover. So I don't see a finish. I mean, I don't think it's particularly likely, but Stephens, I think, for that reason, the fact that he's only 7,000 is in play for GBPs for sure. But I'd also consider him for cash games. I think there might be some other options down the road also who are really cheap, who I think will be really good cash plays. So Edgar, I think, has got to be. I don't see a finish. Stephens is super tough. So I think he's more of a cash play if you kind of want to lock in a guy who you think is pretty certain to win. But I think Nurmagomedov is more upside. So I think Nurmagomedov might be a better option than Edgar. I think Edgar is a little bit safer. Again, I'm worried about the stand-up for Nurmagomedov. I'm not super worried about Stephens outpointing Edgar. I think Stephens really has to win by knockout. So I think Nurmagomedov is more upside, but I think Edgar is safer. And Edgar is a little bit more expensive, not really getting the upside. So I think I would rather play Nurmagomedov in cash, but definitely still some risk there, a little bit anyway. At least for
what?
Yeah.
I don't hate Stephens in cash if you want to pay down for somebody.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't.
Because it's going to go it should go the distance. He has a puncher's chance. If it's going to be a striking affair, he has a chance.
Yeah.
Frankie's been rocked before.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah. But the over-under is at 2.5, and the over is at minus 220. So more likely than not to go the distance. So in any case. Ready to move on?
Sure am.
Okay, so next up we got the first fight on the pay-per-view main card, 6 fights. Miesha Tate taking on Raquel Pennington. So I like Tate in this fight, as you would imagine. She's in that top 5 with Holm and Rousey, and I guess Shevchenko after she beat Holm, and Nunes obviously the champion. But she's up there in that revolving door of which style is going to beat, what kind of stylistic matchup do you have that'll sort of dictate who wins. Pennington has done really nice since she's come off of season 18 of The Ultimate Fighter. She's gone 5-2 with only 2 split decision losses. One was to Jessica Andrade, and she ended up avenging it by a second-round rear naked choke victory. And the other split decision loss was to Holly Holm. She's on a 3-fight win streak, so she's due for I think last fight she was number 8 ranked. So she's due for one of those top 5 fighters. It's just hard for me to see a really consistent path to victory here for Pennington. I think she's probably a crisper boxer. She's really been making a lot of improvements in her overall game, and she's pretty good everywhere. She's dangerous in the clinch. She's got pretty decent wrestling, both offensive and defensive. When she's on her back, she's active with sweeps and submission attempts. She's got good ground and pound from the top. But I think Tate is just too good of a grappler, and I don't think that Pennington has like the power to stop Tate. Tate is super tough, can succeed in a brawl if she can kind of make it that kind of stand-up fight, but where I think she's going to have the advantages in the grappling. She's pretty much out-grappled everyone she's fought, that she's been able to get to the ground, other than Rousey. And she was even able to take Ronda Rousey down. So I like Tate, possibly by a late submission, but I think I picked a decision. But in any case. So looking at the prices here, Tate is 9,100 while Pennington is 7,100. So Tate is pretty expensive because she's only a minus 170 favorite by the odds, while Pennington is a plus 140 dog. So you're getting pretty significant value for Pennington for her price. For that reason, I consider her in cash, but I think they're like Stevens is cheaper and I think is more likely to score more points. Pennington obviously isn't a 250 dog like Stevens is. She's only 140, so she's got a better chance to pull you out to victory. But I think her floor is pretty low if she ends up, again, fighting off of her back for long stretches of the fight. So I don't think that I'm going to be on Pennington very much. Again, maybe I'll think about it for cash. Tate, I think, since she is super expensive and isn't a very big favorite, I don't think that you would want to necessarily roster her in cash. Again, we'll kind of see how things play out with cash lineups. I think that she's a pretty safe bet to go the distance, and if the fight goes the distance, I think that she can pull it out. So I think about her in cash, but I think she's really expensive. Also, I throw her into some GPP lineups too because I think she's got like that rear naked choke possibility for a finish. Anything to add here?
No, I agree. I think she is the play. I still don't think Raquel Pennington's that great. She's had a nice comeback with a nice string of wins, but Misha's at the top tier, and she always has an option to finish the fight, so you can make an argument for both cases. But she is very pricey, so it depends what your risk appetite's like. As we go on and we get to some more value in the last 5 fights, I think we'll have a better picture of whether or not we're going to pay up for her.
Sounds good.
All right, next fight, Kelvin Gastelum versus Cowboy Donald Cerrone.
Why don't you start this one off? What are your thoughts? I'll jump in shortly, but what are you thinking? Because I know that you got an opinion here.
Yeah, I like Cerrone in this fight. I think he is on the cusp. Like you know what you get out of Donald Cerrone. Where are my notes on it? He lost to RDA, pretty bad fashion, but he's an elite striker. He throws wild, hard kicks. The guy always comes prepared. He fights out of Team Jackson. And can you really pick against the guy? Like at welterweight, every time he comes out, he looks better and better and better.
Yeah, he looks like a straight beast.
Yeah. Gastelum, he's a competent fighter. I just think Donald Cerrone's at a higher level, and that might just be me being biased because maybe I haven't watched enough of Gastelum's fights. But, yeah, I'm going to side with Cerrone on this one. He's 8,900, Gastelum 7,300. Cerrone's favored at minus 160, Gastelum's at 130. I always go to the well with Cerrone, and he always pays off for me. I really think he's a good play in GPP and cash. He's going to be heavily owned because of his name and his drawing power. So that's my initial thoughts on it without getting too analytical because I didn't look at their recent fights over. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with your analysis there. I think Gastelum is sort of a little bit of a better or like a little bit of a stiffer test for Cerrone, but really similar to Cerrone's last opponent, Rick Story. think they've got they're both southpaws. They both got like you were sort of talking about, a meat and potatoes kickboxing game. But Gastelum's, I think, is a little bit quicker, a little bit more prone to pressuring. He comes from King's MMA with Rafael Cordero, and so they really like the pressure. They're all about aggression over there. And they've beaten Cerrone twice with Rafael dos Anjos, so they think that they've got the formula for beating him. We were talking about this before we went on air. We don't think Gastelum's got the same skill set as RDA. He's not as fast. His kicks aren't as devastating. And Cerrone's just shown, like you said, I mean, at welterweight he's looked ungodly fast, and his boxing, his hands have caught up to his kicking game, and his ground game has always been lethal. So, I mean, against the power of Lawler, I would have had real reservations about picking Cerrone, but I'm with you on here. I'm a little bit hesitant. I mean, eventually Cerrone's going to run into someone at welterweight who I think can press him. And
you really think it's Gastelum though?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think it's him. So GBP and cash for Cerrone, I think. He's not super expensive, but like you said, he's going to be pretty heavily owned. What do you think about Gastelum? Are we playing him at all? Or where do we like him more, I should say? I mean, yeah.
GBP? I think the ownership's going to be very light on him.
Okay. That makes him a target for GBPs.
Yeah, without a doubt. You want low-owned guys that are, going to knock somebody out in the first round. Excuse me, I got a sore throat. I don't think I can pay him in cash because Donald Cerrone could come out and storm him. I just don't trust him enough in cash. So for me, he'll be strictly a GPP salary relief dart.
Okay.
Agree? Disagree?
I'm a little bit intrigued by the possibility of playing with cash, given that it should be a stand-up affair, lots of points. Like you said, Cerrone could uncork something at pretty much any time and finish him off. So, yeah, the risk I think is a little bit too great for cash. And again, we've talked about other guys like Stevens and maybe Pennington, who could be really super cheap cash options potentially. We'll get to an even better one in a minute. So yeah, I think maybe not much for Gastelum, except that GPP dart throw like you mentioned.
All right, good stuff. Let's move on. Chris Weidman versus Yoel Romero. And I've been wrestling over this fight. You and I were talking off the air. This fight is going to be a stand-up affair. And here's why I say that. Chris Weidman is a college wrestler, all-American wrestler. Romero made his name in the Olympic wrestling scene. I think he won a silver medal. He medaled in some fashion at the Olympics. So I think the wrestling cancels each other out. Weidman's the type of guy that pressure just keeps pushing forward. But in Romero's last fight, he fought Jacare Souza, who employs the same type of strategy and came forward. And it didn't really phase him. He used the wrestling to fight off Jacare. So I think that cancels itself out, and I think it's going to be a stand-up affair. And I really want to pick Romero in this fight. I mean, I love Romero in GPPs because he has so much power in his hands. Excuse me. I think I'm going to go with Weidman because he has more avenues to win. I think he's a better striker. And the wrestling negates itself. So I think it's going to come down to the striking, and I give the slight edge to Chris Weidman. And not to mention, he's fighting in his hometown, New York City. He's going to be all hyped up. So I kind of play into the narrative side of things there. But if Romero pops him, I think it's over. I think if Romero gets him to the ground, his ground and pound is absolutely lethal. I hate picking against Weidman, but I really want to pick Romero here, but I think the smart play is I think Weidman ekes out a decision. I don't see a finish on his end. But if you want to throw Romero into GPPs for some knockout upside, I absolutely love it. So I think the ownership in these guys is going to be pretty medium because of their price range. 40, 50%, 60%, something like that. Weidman comes in at 8,500. Yoel Romero comes in at 7,700. Weidman is minus 180, and Romero is 150. So I'm a little scared to play either of these guys in cash, so I'm going to stick to GPPs with this. I think Weidman edges him out, but I'm not as confident as I want to be for a cash game spot on my roster. So GPPs are fine with me. I love Romero as a GPP for some salary relief. So it's not a real, endorsement of who's going to win. I think Weidman, if you made me pick Weidman, edges out a decision, but I love Romero's upside here. I think he's slightly less owned, and the guy's tough as nails. He's got a shot to end it and rain on Romero's little party up there in New York. So,
okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I like. I think Weidman. I mean, the thing that concerns me about Weidman is him coming off his neck surgery. Is he going to look the same? Is he going to have the same toughness? Is he going to be able to grapple with someone like Romero? If he comes out looking like he should, I think that he's able to withstand the early barrage from Romero and then wear Romero down and kind of put him away late. Tim Kennedy was almost able, or should have been able to get the TKO on Romero at the very end of the second round when Romero kind of gassed himself out. And then, of course, Romero comes back 15 seconds into round 3 and knocks out Kennedy. So that just shows you Romero's always capable of that knockout as long as he's standing, but I think Weidman will wear him down and put him away late. So, again, like I said, GPP play for both these guys. Romero's got that. I think Romero is more likely for that first round upside, though.
I didn't touch on the gas tank either. Romero's more likely to fade in the later rounds, and Weidman does have an opportunity to finish. So I'll side with him in the fight. Yeah, I think he wins it, but it's MMA. So you want to throw Romero in some GPPs? By all means, I love it. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Oh, God, you're going to say it. Go ahead.
All right, so we got Joanna Champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz or something like that. But anyway, regardless, these Polish dynamos are awesome plays, I think, in either format, because I think they're going to put up tons of points. This fight is the one that should last the longest, overwhelmingly. This is the only fight that's got an over-under. Despite having 3 title fights, is the only one that's got an over-under at 4.5 rounds. And it's supposed to go over the over is at minus 185. So both these women are high-volume strikers, especially the Champion. So even though she's really expensive, checking out the prices here, Jędrzejczyk is 9,300, Kowalkiewicz is 6,900. Jędrzejczyk is a minus 400 favorite, the biggest favorite on the card, while the comeback on Kowalkiewicz is plus 300. But Jędrzejczyk has pretty much locked herself into must-play territory. Would you agree?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think she is. Even with her price tag, she's going to put up 140 strikes.
Yeah,
over 5 rounds.
Yeah. Really, this is going to be a test of how tough Kowalkiewicz is.
Bear with me. So I'm looking at her last 3 fights
on
DraftKings, and her last fight, she had 176 significant strikes. The fight before that, she had 220, and the fight before that, she had 126. She easily surpassed the 100-point threshold, which is kind of like the max for if I'm paying top dollar, I need at least 100 points. So with the new scoring and all that, I think you pay up for her.
But do you think she doesn't really benefit much from the new scoring, right? Because she isn't much of a grappler, right? But I forget now. Do you get more points?
Yeah, I forget. Did they up the significant strikes? Either way.
No, they didn't up the significant strikes, but I'm wondering if they upped the points you get. I know they upped the points you get for a decision is 30 now instead of 25, and so making wins more valuable. And I think they might have also upped the later round stoppages. But in any case,
she's going to get you points. Pay up for her.
Yeah, she's going to give you a ton. Even in a decision, she's going to give you a ton of points. And Kowalkiewicz at your bargain basement price, cheapest fighter on the card, or close to it, she's going to give you a lot of points also, even in a loss. unless she gets knocked out in like the second round, which I don't expect. Obviously, neither does Vegas. She should give you a ton of points. So this is a fight I would stack in cash without hesitation. And I consider playing them both in GBPs also, not necessarily because they're finishing, but just because they're going to rack up points on points on points.
What if you stacked it in GPPs too? Because you got to think, okay, let's say Joanna puts up 140 just to be on the high end. All right, we'll call it 120. And Carolina puts up 80 or 100. You're averaging like 100 per fighter, and that's what you want. I don't know.
Well, for Carolina to get to 100 in a loss, she'd have to hit 200 strikes, which would be...
Well, okay, in her last fight, she went 3 rounds. She put up 78 points in a win and 93 in the fight before that. So, yeah, I guess you're right. She's got to hit a whole bunch of strikes.
I mean, she's got 10 more minutes to do it, potentially, if she can go the full 5 rounds. I guess really the question is if you're going to stack it in GBPs, which seems like totally insane, and I don't know if we're being like way off base here or not, but you would need Kowalkiewicz to outscore someone else who had finished, right? In order to make her in order to win, you need like the 6 highest scoring people, right? So you think Kowalkiewicz could be one of those even in a loss?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you just pick which horse you're on and go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting idea. I mean, I get where your head's at here. If she ends up landing 200 strikes, that's maybe a little bit insane. Interesting idea, but definitely I think you got to be on Jacek despite how expensive she is, and stacking cash. I think that's a must, pretty much.
All right, co-main event of the evening: Tyrone Woodley, the champion, is defending his belt against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Probably, aside from the main, I'm really looking forward to this fight. Probably the most. I'm going to go with Wonderboy in this one. I think his speed, his variation, his ability to fight at range is going to be the difference here. He's fought pretty powerful punchers in Tyrone Woodley before, Jake Ellenberger, Johnny Hendricks, yet he kept them at range and he completely picked them apart. Woodley, sure, yeah, he does have a chance to catch him, but I think Stephen Thompson does such a good job at fighting from range, and he's so elusive and fast that it's going to be really difficult for Woodley, and Woodley's going to have to be doing a lot of chasing to, break through that range that Wonderboy is going to have. Wonderboy, the guy has power from everywhere, kicks, punches, takedowns. Most recently, he knocked out Robbie Lawler. I was reading about Woodley. Tyrone Woodley, he's a powerful puncher. He KO'd Robbie Lawler stiff for the title at UFC 201. He's fast. He's got a really strong double leg takedown. But is he going to be able to bridge that gap and get through the range of Wonderboy to take him down? And I don't think he is. Wonderboy, he's always switching stances. He keeps his hands low with this wide karate stance, and he uses a lot of side kicks to maintain range. And for as long as he is, it seems like he fights even longer, which is absolutely insane. Against Hendricks and Ellenberger, he had super, super fast hands, came from everywhere, smashed Big Rig with punches, got him out of there, see you later. Dude's never been finished. One of the concerns I saw, though, was he was dropped by Jake Ellenberger. Very similar punch to Woodley, but he kind of smartened up and, didn't get into those close, dirty boxing ranges with Ellenberger as the fight went on. And, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. He does show a good affinity for counterpunching, which could be a tool in his wheelhouse for this fight because Woodley's going to have to come at him and break through, and those counterpunches could find a home. So I'm going Wonderboy here. This is just an unfavorable matchup for the champion. He's got a chance to catch him and put him to sleep, so he's a GPP option for me. But I think Wonderboy circles away from that power hand and picks him apart from the feet and wins via decision. I don't know what Woodley's chin's like, so I'm not going to say there's a possibility for a finish here, but I'm going to lean decision, Wonder Boy, 5 rounds of action. What do you think?
Okay, yeah. So if you think it goes the distance, any cash plays here at all, or this is just GBPs both ways for you?
You know, before the show we said this is strictly GPP for these guys. I don't hate Thompson and cash.
Yeah, Woodley's power's got to give you some hesitation there.
Yeah, see that. Yeah, that's where I was getting. Like, I like Thompson's chances. I think he's going to win the fight in 5 rounds. I think he's going to, if it goes 5 rounds, he puts up a ton of output. But I'm scared of Woodley's overhand right. He is the champion for a reason. So I think I'm going to probably fade this fight in cash and keep it as a GPP only type of play. And I think the ownership's going to be super high on this one. And if I play him in cash, I don't want to be, the idiot that picked the wrong one. So I'm probably going to go with the more safer routes that we discussed on the card. But that's where I'm at. And I think you would agree with that?
Yeah, I think I'm with that. I'd like to play Wonder Boy in cash, but I would just be sweating bullets the entire time. Anytime Woodley rushes in with that overhand, I'd be crapping myself. So want to avoid that. So I think this is a term to play. I agree. All right, main event time.
Main event, big dog.
Right,
Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah, man. Eddie Alvarez, Conor McGregor. So are you still a Conor mark, or what's happening?
For life, but you know how I got in this fight. I don't want to steal your thunder.
All right, fair enough. Well, so I am picking. Well, I guess I don't want to give it away too early. One thing I would say is, obviously did a bunch of research for this fight, looked into it quite a bit. But I thought a couple weeks ago, TriStar Gym owner or head coach or whatever he is, Faraz Sahabi put out a video kind of answering some questions that fans had about this fight, kind of giving his opinions about what's going to work, what's not going to work. And I was in agreement with a lot of the stuff that he said. Obviously, he's an incredibly smart MMA dude, so he knows what he's talking about. But he really convinced me on a lot of things. So here's how I think this one kind of breaks down. Anytime that the two guys are at boxing range, obviously, they're both going to be at risk. Alvarez has proven that he's no slouch standing. He just knocked out Dos Anjos with pretty much one punch, rocked him really, really badly, and then he finished him off with a barrage. So we know, obviously, McGregor's got giant power as well. The thing that McGregor has struggled with in the past is wrestling and his gas tank. Those are the two main issues. Defensive wrestling, Mendez was able to plant him on his back with a lot of success before he ended up getting finished in the second round. I think the reason that happened was because a couple reasons. McGregor invested in kicks to the body that really hurt Mendez a lot, sapped his gas tank, and Mendez was already coming in on 10 days notice, so he was already not in great physical shape for the fight. With that said, he still was able to take McGregor down and hold him there for long stretches, especially in the second round, before he kind of tried to go for a topside guillotine and then pull guard to try to finish it. McGregor was able to escape, get back up, and then continue his assault on the feet. So Alvarez knows how big of a spot he's in. He's in a position to become a huge star like Nate Diaz did after he beat McGregor. And so, obviously, he doesn't want to let that slip away. I also don't think that he's going to be fazed by the pressure of the situation because he's already been in tons of big fights, title fights he wasn't supposed to win, like against against Dos Anjos, and pulled that out. So I think that he should, because he knows what kind of spot that he's in. He shouldn't just get reckless and just try to trade bombs with McGregor. He's going to try to wrestle McGregor, wear out that gas tank, and then once McGregor is tired, he is much less of a threat, a knockout threat. And that's when I think Alvarez can kind of open up with his striking a little bit more and either get like the late stoppage or carry out a decision. So that's my pick here. I like Eddie to win. It's obviously going to be extremely dangerous for those first 7 minutes when McGregor's going to look to pressure, use his reach advantage, use that really big power in his hands to try to shut off Eddie Alvarez. He could definitely do that. But I think Alvarez going to wrestle early, get the win that way.
What's the weight class? 155. What does he normally fight at?
Well, McGregor is the reigning 145-pound featherweight champion. Alvarez is the 155-pound champion. They're fighting for Alvarez's 155-pound belt. McGregor's trying to become the first simultaneous two-division belt holder in the UFC.
Yeah. Without diving in too much more, I'm on board with you. Eddie, I think he wins this fight. I think he uses his wrestling a lot. McGregor says, I train in wrestling, but you can't learn, elite level wrestling in a year and a half. Sure, it can be competent, but Eddie Alvarez is at a different level. Tough as nails. I don't think he's going to play into the intimidation that Conor's trying to throw his way. He's from Philly. Pretty tough. He just has that, no BS side about him, and I think he comes in and takes care of business and reigns on the parade. So I'm taking Alvarez in this fight as well to win via decision.
Another point that Sahabi brought up that I thought was really interesting was that, like, Nate, the Diaz brothers are known for their like legendary chins. Nate's been knocked out once by Josh Thompson head kicks. Conor couldn't put him away. Zahabi thought that, thinks, I guess, that Alvarez has a comparable chin to Diaz. He's only been TKO'd himself once in a really long career with like a whole bunch of wars. Just like in the Melendez fight when he got his like face smashed and his eye closed in the first round, he just showed like insane toughness to come back and win the next 2 rounds of that fight with only one good eye. And after having a really terrible first round when he got his face all jacked up. So that just showed his toughness. Some people might be thinking, okay, well, what about the kicks? That's something that McGregor's really good at. He's got really great kicks. And Alvarez lost his fight with Don Cerrone because he got chopped down by leg kicks in large part. By the 3rd round, he could barely stand up. McGregor showed in his rematch with Diaz that like he can leg kick, but that's not like something that he is good at relying on yet, right? Like he could barely walk out of the octagon. I think he needed to be helped out of the octagon because he jacked up his own legs, trying to kick Diaz, right? So Eddie is not as susceptible to leg kicks. They're not really he's not quite as susceptible to leg kicks as Nate is. And McGregor is not as good at them as Conor is. I'm sorry. Conor's not as good as them. Is not as good at leg kicks as Cowboy is. Sorry. Other kicks, the front kicks though, like the really digging front kicks, that is something that McGregor I think should probably try to use. He's got to be careful about kicking them because he could leave himself open to takedowns that way. So in any case, we're on Eddie. You've picked his fights correctly so far, right? Have you picked Conor's? You picked Nate to upset.
Yep.
Did you pick Nate again in the rematch?
I did. I picked him again.
Okay, so you're 1-1 on Conor's last couple fights. I'm 0-2. So what the heck do I know? So
we got it this time. I think we got it this time. We like Alvarez. All right, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. So what we're gonna do is do a little screen share here and build a quick GPP lineup. So Josh, dive right in. Who is the chalk play that we have to have?
In GBPs, I don't know. We were just Conor is going to be the most heavily owned dude. We didn't talk about their prices. I didn't get a chance to touch on that yet. Sorry. Eddie is 7,600 on DraftKings, while Conor is 8,600. You can get Alvarez at dog money right now. That he's plus 135. Conor is minus 165. So I think this has got to be a GPP play only. Obviously, this could end in the first round. Both guys have shown that. Conor is going to be extremely heavily owned. So in a GPP, I am more likely to kind of stay away from him. Would you agree?
Yeah, we want, especially if you think he's going to lose.
Well, yeah. I think, I don't know. Ordinarily, I would say he's obviously worth shares. He's got a good chance of getting the finish. But with having a ridiculous ownership, I might just stay away for the most part.
For the sake of this lineup, let's fade him. So
okay.
If we think Alvarez is going to get a 5-round war out of him for 7,600, is he not a plug and move on?
I think he's also going to be relatively. I mean, yeah, let's throw him in there. I mean, since McGregor's going to be so highly owned, Alvarez won't be as highly owned. But I think I think one of these two guys is going to be in like almost everyone's GPP lineups because
it's the main event.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, where else do we see finishes?
In the co-main event, we both like Wonder Boy. But you said decision, right, for that. So maybe move on. Let's put in Jacek.
Yeah, I think she's a must. Regardless, she probably won't finish, but 5 rounds of output. Whew! I'll take all those points.
Yeah. Let's put in Cerrone.
Okay, so we got about 8,066 left per fighter.
Romero. You like him, right?
Yeah, GPP. Natal. I like Natal. I really like Jim Miller, man.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I want to see what Alves looks like at the weigh-ins, but I don't hate that in GBPs at all. It's pretty cheap.
Let's throw him in, see what we can pay up for.
Yeah.
All right, we got $8,700
For our last slot.
Yeah. Oh. Finishes. The only finishes I see on the board are between Muhammad and Luque, Natal. I don't trust Natal. I don't trust this fight either.
Well, you don't have to trust it too much. Which one of those guys do you think has the best chance to finish?
Probably Muhammad.
Okay.
I like Luque too. He's right in the. Oh.
I think I like. Well, let's look at the finish props. I think I like Natal to finish out of all those people the most. Boach has just not looked good lately. I think Muhammad and Luque are both really tough and young, and so not like really shop worn. So finish props. Natal is at plus 190, so that's pretty good. Boach is at plus 228, also not bad. Luque and Muhammad are both like in the plus 325, 335 range. So looks like Natal has the best finished prop. You want to throw him in there?
Yeah, let's throw him in. So we're looking at Alvarez, and Jake, I can't even say it. Donald Cerrone, Yoel Romero, Jim Miller, and Rafael Natal. We think these 6 individuals are in prime spots to get you guys a finish and win the fight and make you a whole bunch of money. So, as always, you guys can, critique us and make your own thing. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Houdini16. Follow Josh at Stonewall MMA. Please, guys, give us a chance. Look into our Patreon website. We're going to have it on the YouTube link here. We should post it so we can just show it on the video right now. But we'll post it to our Twitter, to YouTube, and anything helps, guys. We're just trying to, buy some microphones, buy some things just to make this a little more professional so we can have a better product out for you guys.
Yeah, part of it is just like at this point, we want to like upgrade our subscriptions, SoundCloud, and just looking just getting some better equipment, like you said, but also like pay for some better production so we can, like you said, trying to make the podcast better, trying to not operate at a loss. That would be nice. So if you enjoy the content, if we're helping you make your lineups, if you know us and like us or whatever, hit us up, patreon.com. In terms of other things that we've got coming out, I've got a full main card preview on Low Kick coming out, and maybe a prelim one as well if I can get that finished up here. I'm really excited about these previews. I'm really trying to like get into like the we do it on the podcast. That's like one of the main reasons we do the podcast, for fun, obviously, but also to like do some fight analysis stuff. I really enjoy that, and so I'm getting a chance to do that for lowkickmma.com, so check it out over there. Anything else?
No, man, I think you covered it. Should be a great weekend. Tell your friends about this. Listen in. Hopefully we got you a little advice, gave you a little
yeah, that's the other thing. Another way that you can really help us out, if you're not going to donate, that's totally cool. If you're just kind of finding the podcast. But tell other people, social media, give us a subscription or a like or a positive rating on wherever you listen to podcasts or anything like that. It will help us out. We really appreciate it. So thank you. I think that's it.
Yeah, man, that's it. Thanks again, guys, for listening. Enjoy this weekend. This card is huge. It's going to be off the chain. Yeah, we'll see you guys real soon. Peace.